There's a show called Flashpoint. It's on Kenneth Copeland's TV network, the Victory Channel. Want to listen to what they have to say? It's all Trump all the time, pro-Trump nonsense. It's crazy. So let's give this a listen.
Is there encouraging news?
There's a lot of encouraging news here on the ground in Arizona. You know, early on, we didn't know what was going to happen here because
This guy, by the way, Floyd Brown, he's like a right-wing extremist to the core. And I think he started a propaganda magazine. I think that's what it was. I forget exactly.
race hadn't tightened, but now that we're just a little bit over 30 days out, about 40 days out, it has broken for President Donald Trump, which is
What? It has? What news sources are you reading? Who told you that? Who told you that Trump is coming out ahead right now in election polling or whatever? You know, when they just like flat out lie like this, blatantly bald-faced lie, it makes me think that like they feel that they need to make it out like Trump is winning even when he's not, because that's how they're going to justify claiming that it was stolen or whatever.
really great news. The latest polls have him up here anywhere from 5, some of them as high as 7 points. And then that
I don't know what he's talking about.
all important Senate seat, the Kerry Lake for Senate seat, is within the margin of error. So it's an extremely close race.
Like nearly every race in the United States is within the margin of error. First of all, that's the system that we live in. And second, what you mean to say is that she's losing, then. That's what it sounds like, right? She's losing. And third, we should probably look up Donald Trump's numbers, right? Just to see. Also, you need to look at polling aggregates, not like polls or just not individual polls, basically. Trump 47, Harris 49. Those couple of percentage points make all the difference. I guess it depends on the state you're looking at, but I'm not seeing any reason to think that Trump's going to win right now. I mean, we need to be real careful and assume that he's going to win so that we get out there and do it. But still, this guy's just full of shit. Like, what polls are you even looking at? There's no recent poll that shows Trump winning gloriously. What are you going on about right now? I have no idea what he's talking about.
And these Senate seats are really important because people need to understand that if we don't get a majority in the U.S. Senate in this election, then Donald Trump isn't going to get his cabinet picks through. He isn't going to get his judges through. He isn't going to get all of the key personnel he needs in order to govern.
No, he'll be able to get people through. He just won't be able to get complete nutcases through is all. He'll have to settle for people who are reasonable, honest, and maybe know the job, or they won't be like accepted by the Senate. See, they don't want normal human beings. They want ideologues who are obsessed with Donald Trump and MAGA and everything else. That's the hang up here.
Once he's elected president. But the news out of Arizona is really great, Gene.
Yeah.
Like, you know what this is? This is them desiring a bypass to democracy. Like, they're trying to create a kind of like a one-party situation where a single party gets to make all decisions at the top levels. That's just not how it should work, and it isn't how it does work.
It's good, and thank you for bringing that up, Floyd, because we have a tendency, especially in the American church, we're looking for the president, get our guy in there, and kind of forget how important the rest of the ballot is. So all the down ballot races, it's important. Now, we got a large audience in Arizona. Floyd, what should people do when they're looking for who to vote for? What should they be doing?
Well, I mean, first of all, I would say in the Senate seat, Kerry Lake is, an important person to vote for. But down ballot, there's a lot of really good congressmen that are running. And then even below.
No, there aren't.
Below that, county council people, county recorder, which runs our elections out here, is a really important race. There's just a lot of great and important and significant races here in Arizona. And really, this state has been so closely tied over the last half decade, Gene. It's really important for Republicans to win all over, because we've got to keep the state legislature with a Democrat governor and other things in order to make sure Arizona doesn't just become like a mini California, which is the
Okay.
direction it's been headed the last half decade.
All right, let me check in with Chris Ann Hall from the state of Florida. Chris Ann, bring us up to speed. How are things in Florida?
Well, first, I'd like to remind everybody to pray for Florida. We've got a hurricane that is scheduled to bear down.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, there's a hurricane. What's the name of the hurricane? It's real too. It's not good
On us. So that's something that we don't need to be dealing with right now. But Florida is Florida. We're on the trajectory to being.
You're not talking me into praying for Florida here. Florida is Florida. Yes, that's the problem.
A constitutionally bound state. And what I like to see at the state level is that Republicans, conservatives, churches are really digging in and getting involved at the state and local levels. It's very glamorous, it's very sexy to have all of the attention on the federal elections.
It is? Is that the word you use to describe it?
But as was mentioned before, it's the local elections where the people have a lot of power and can wield a lot of power in control of the federal realm. And so I am very encouraged to see massive movements in Florida. However, we do have a very bad amendment on our ballot this year. It is Amendment 4, and it's to make abortion a constitutional right. And it is a very insidious amendment because this amendment absolutely deregulates abortion across the board. So it's really abortion at any time for any reason. And
This is just complete bullshit. At most, it's affirming Roe v. Wade. That is not abortion at any time for any reason.
you don't even have to have a doctor to get an abortion.
Okay, I don't know what she's talking about. Does she mean that, like, you don't need a doctor to take pills? Is that what she's talking about?
Just somebody that classifies themselves as a healthcare provider, which is not even regulated by the government.
Bro, are you kidding me right now? Really? This is a joke. These people are jokes. All right, you know what? This is an attempt at, like, trap law stuff. You wanted to say doctors? Fine. We'll put doctors in there if you want. This is such bullshit. She knows this is bullshit.
And if this amendment passes, an abortion will be the only medical procedure in the state of Florida that a child can get without parental consent.
Wait, okay, now give me a second here, because I seem to remember you telling me that children are getting trans surgeries without parental consent. Yeah, you know what? Kids should be able to get abortions without parental consent. Yes. If a kid is at abortion stage in their life, then yes, they should absolutely be able to get one. No questions asked. What the f is wrong with them to say some shit like that? And also, this is a losing issue for them, for Republicans. They should never talk about abortion, never, because it will lose them votes in the election. It's just not, their position is not popular at all.
No. Staggering. So there we go. We got our work cut out in Florida. Let's go to New York with our friend Eric Metaxas. Good to see you again, Eric. Talk to.
Oh my God, this guy purports to be an expert in the church in World War II, and he's just so full of shit. Every word out of his mouth is BS.
Us about what's happening in New York.
You're asking me what's happening in New York? Every chance I get, I take a cab to LaGuardia Airport, and I come to another part of the country to get out of New York.
Why? New York is the shit. I live in Manhattan. New York is awesome. What are you talking about? And also, he's a millionaire. Can't he just move? I don't understand. Why doesn't he just move if he just takes a cab to LaGuardia to go on a long trip? Like, what?
Actually, you know me, I'm a kidder. I live in New York, spent a lot of time in Connecticut with my mom. New York, it's hard to say. The funny thing is, and this is true all over the country, the elites give you the impression that they speak for everybody. They
Elites give you that impression? Listen to these guys. These are the elites. These guys, they're the elites. And they're speaking for everyone right now. They are literally doing what they're complaining about.
don't. If you talk to normal people, I live in Manhattan. Everybody says, "Oh, it's so liberal." No, it's not that liberal. If you talk
Yeah, I mean, it's 50-50.
to people, you talk to all the Orthodox Jews, the serious religious Jews, they're all for Trump. You talk to the working class people, to the
No, I've never personally met anybody in New York City that is in favor of Trump, which is kind of surprising because you think to yourself, he's from New York. You would think that like people here would love him. No, they hate him actually. The only indication I've ever gotten that Trump is liked to any degree whatsoever in New York City is there's a guy that dresses up like Donald Trump down there at Times Square. And every now and then, like when he's walking by, people fist bump him. That's it. That's the only time I've ever seen support for him before. It's crazy. So, anyway, point is, this guy's completely full of shit, of course.
firefighters, to the cops, they're not stupid. They understand what's going on in the country. So people shouldn't be fooled. Your average New Yorker is very much like your average American. They see what's going on, but the elites give you the impression that New York is represented by, Chuck Schumer or whoever else. It's really not the case. And things have got.
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. Like, Trump is not popular. He's just not. He's not popular in the United States, certainly not in New York City.
Gotten so bad that I am seriously encouraged. Trump did a rally here in Long Island not long ago. There are tons of people here who, they finally see, oh my goodness, we need him back.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So
he did do a rally in Long Island recently. Pretty much everything else the dude said was a lie, but yeah, he did do that. And I think he did one in Staten Island or something. I don't remember. Anyway, I don't know why he's even doing that here. It's a waste of his time. It's pointless, it seems to me, but whatever. Waste your time.
We've checked in with three corners in the nation. Let me show you this clip. Early voting has already began. Hard to believe. Early voting's already started, 42 days out, but
didn't know that.
Here we go. Watch this.
Fox News alert, Donald Trump holding a big rally in the swing state of Pennsylvania tonight. And he's just announced that in 2 weeks, he'll be going back to Butler, where he was almost killed.
He was killed, or he was attacked in Butler, Pennsylvania? I didn't know that. My dad died in Butler, Pennsylvania. Huh. Interesting.
Voters across the country have just started casting their ballots. Early voting officially kicked off Friday in some states, and the lines were crazy. In Virginia, not a swing state, you could hear the Trump chants. Listen.
Well, it is a swing state a little bit.
This is one of 3 early voting locations in Fairfax County alone. They're going to open another 13 of these.
You know why this is happening? Because Trump supporters are obnoxious idiots. That's why this is happening. If you notice, it's one doing it in the background. It's not a whole crowd wearing MAGA hats and cheering and saying, yeah, we're all voting for Trump. Everybody here. That's not what's happening. It's one piece of shit that can't shut his mouth to save his own life.
Locations in the beginning of October.
The Republican.
And then there's one other person dancing. You see? Watch. This woman's dancing and one guy's screaming.
Early voting locations in Fairfax County alone. They're going to open another 13 of these locations in the beginning of October.
Yeah, see this guy in the background? Why is he like this? Why are they like this? There's this woman that was driving through Michigan, and she had a Harris Walls sticker on her car. And she was saying how while driving through like a red district in Michigan or whatever, on multiple occasions, Trump supporters swerved into her to, scare her, to try to run her off the road? I don't know. They had gigantic MAGA signs on their trucks and shit. And she has a little sticker, and they want to make her life miserable. In fact, they want to end it if possible. That shit's dangerous, like really dangerous. Isn't Long Island one of the boroughs? No, Long Island is, basically, it's just like Manhattan is an island, and Long Island is an island. And they're just 2 land masses, is all. Long Island has Queens and Brooklyn, boroughs on it. And if you go further out, you'll get like a bunch of other kind of town. The Hamptons are out there on Long Island, and I don't know, a bunch of other places. It's where rich people go generally. So anyway, yeah, it's not one of the boroughs. It's just an island. Staten Island is a borough. Staten Island is south of Manhattan, and that's a smaller island. So you got Staten Island as a borough, Manhattan, and then to the east, you have Long Island, which has Queens on the top and Brooklyn on the bottom. They're connected to each other. And then north of Manhattan, above it, is the Bronx. And the Bronx is on the mainland. It's just like connected to everything else. So almost all of New York City is on an island, surprisingly. I did not know that. A very small subset is not. Anyway, pretty interesting stuff. Chicagoan. Okay. Yeah. Well, I like your pizza for what that's worth. I hate New York City pizza. It's the absolute worst. Anyway, the point is that these people are obnoxious fools, is all.
October.
Yeah, Nerico, you may have been thinking of Staten Island. And Staten Island really isn't even New York City. I mean, technically it is, but Staten Islanders are complete. And they don't represent me or literally anybody else that I know. In fact, they infuriate them. I think they have one subway train that goes like the length of Staten Island, and it doesn't even do any good for anybody. They do have a ferry that moves from Staten Island to the mainland or to like Manhattan or whatever, and that's pretty cool. The ferries are really cool. They're the same price as the subway, just $2.90. Beautiful. You can just get on at one of the ports and it'll take you places. The cheapest, let me rephrase, the least expensive tourist attraction that you can hit. Go through the East River or the Hudson on a ferry for $2.90.
The Republican Party, not known for early voting, can't wait to get to the polls.
All right, Floyd, you saw that report there from Fox, but I mean, it just kind of makes me laugh because I've never seen an election at this point where people were so vocal about their candidate like they are.
You haven't? Really? Did you see the 2016 election and then the subsequent 2020 election? Were you here for those?
Or for Donald Trump. I mean, is that what you're saying? I mean, you've been around this as long as I have. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I don't like making these comparisons, so I'm only going to do it once because it's necessary. But Hitler was a very divisive figure. People either loved him or they hated him in very similar fashion to what we're seeing with Trump. I don't believe that they're the same. I don't think it's even comparable, truthfully, because the environment is so dramatically different between the United States culture and German culture in the 30s. Just too different. But the degree of like radical, rabid, extreme obsession with this person is like to a degree I've only ever seen in history books like one other time. That's it. Donald Trump is also divisive in the same way. Now, did he hold the same policies or whatever? No, he didn't. Hell, you know what? It doesn't even matter what his policies were. Even if Trump were on the left or Hitler were on the left or they're both on the left, whatever. It doesn't matter. They're both very divisive. They're divisive figures. They're either hated or they're loved, for better or worse.
Yeah, well, this is a totally different cycle than most cycles. And here in
No, it's really not.
Arizona, we start voting on October 9th. And yes, Republicans are chomping at the bit to vote early. We call it banking the vote. And I encourage everyone that...
Who calls it banking the vote? Is that even a term, or did you just make that shit up? Oh, it's a bank your vote campaign. It's just like this big campaign that the RNC is doing. Okay, that's not what anybody calls it except for the RNC. Bank your vote is leveraging the full infrastructure of the RNC and the entire Republican ecosystem. Digital and data, ground game, protect your vote. Like what? I don't even understand what they're saying. Okay, whatever.
Watches Flashpoint. If you have an opportunity to bank your vote early, don't wait for election day. 2 years ago, Kari Lake was defeated because the machines weren't working on election day.
That's just a lie. That is a lie. That is not true. I think there were like 3 machines or something that had a problem. And guess what? the people brought their voter tabulator or whatever to the other machine. They just went to the other one. It wasn't like this big secret cabal, like arranged for this to happen. It affected nothing.
If you can get that vote, if you can get that ballot in early, do it. Get your vote in as soon as you can. I plan on voting the very first day possible here in Arizona, and you're right. People are excited. We want Donald Trump. We want a Republican Senate. We want a Republican House, and it's really important that we bank those votes early.
All right, let me show you these polls from Interactive Polls. Of course, right there at the top, Arizona shows Trump up 5 points, 50 to 45. That was the last poll was August, and it was Harris up by 5. So that's interesting.
Arizona, Trump 50%, Harris 45. North Carolina, why are they picking these ones? Why did they pick these? These are the ones that are most likely not going to go to Kamala Harris. There are like, I don't know, 8 swing states or something. You know what? Let's just look at it. I don't know if you've ever been here. 270towin.com? Yes, 270towin.com. Check this out. Check this map out here. You can base the map on polling or on Sabato's crystal ball polls or Cook Political Report, Fox News. Fox News polling is actually really good, surprisingly. You wouldn't think. Right now it is anyway. This is what happened in 2020. These are the states that have been the same since 2000. So Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa. These are all considered swing states. New Hampshire and 1 district in Maine and 1 in Nebraska. Those are swing states, basically. Then you got the blank map if you wanted it. But yeah, let's just take a look here. So this is the consensus of all polling right now. This is what we expect. So Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada. Those are the swing states right now. 1 Maine district leans Republican. 1 Nebraska district leans Democrat. Minnesota is leaning Democrat, likely to. Virginia is likely to go Democrat, looks like. And he decided to look at Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia. Those are the 3 swing states that are leaning heavily Trump right now. North Carolina went Trump both times, 2016 and 2020, I believe. Arizona, I believe, went Trump 2016 and then Biden in 2020. I don't remember. Anyway, pretty interesting. So here's the layout. This is what we would need to win, okay? I suspect that North Carolina is going to lean Democrat, personally. I also think Pennsylvania is likely to go Democrat, and I'm thinking Wisconsin will too. Georgia, I'm not sure. I think it's leaning Republican because of all of the fucked up stuff they're doing right now there. Like, Trump is caught, his emails were released in conversation with Georgia election officials, and they're like banning ballot counters and shit there. So Arizona is also leaning Republican. So I think it might come down to Michigan and Nevada. So I think Nevada is going to go blue. This is my speculative guess at what's going to happen. Michigan polling. Let's check Michigan polls here real quick. What do we got? Oh, check it out. Texas is so close. Oh my God, Texas is so close. It's not considered a swing state right now, but it's getting close to swing state. Oh shit. Right on the edge. We flip Texas, Republicans will never win another election. Well, and not until they move to the left. They're going to have to do that, or they're not going to come out the other side. I was looking for like Michigan. Here it is, Michigan polls. We don't have an aggregate apparently though. So it's looking like Harris is coming out ahead right now in Michigan. So we can probably mark that as leans blue. In my opinion, Harris is most likely going to win. I believe that's going to happen, in my opinion. We'll see. Texas, somebody says, Georgenti says, day I see Texas go blue is the day it'll blow my mind. Texas is blue, actually. Texas is blue. But thanks to the, what do you call it, like all of the ass backward, like electoral college trickery and Ken Paxton with everything, it went red the past few elections. If Ken Paxton had not been the attorney general, to with the votes, it likely would have turned out blue, or at least more likely blue. It is over 50% Democrat, Texas is. So anyway, we'll see, right? It's gerrymandering. Yeah, it's all gerrymandering. It's all bullshit cheating is what's happening. Like, not pretend cheating like Republicans seem to think is happening, but actual cheating. Anyway, all right, let's continue listening here.
North Carolina, Trump up by 2, 49-47. Previously, Harris was up by 2. Georgia, Trump up by 4. The last poll showed Trump up by 4 as well. So he's holding.
Yeah, I don't know why they're looking at individual polls. They should be looking at aggregates, right? This is just them giving the impression that Trump is like way, way, way ahead when he's not. He's not ahead at all, actually. He's behind.
Seems to be holding strong. Now, this is where I say take polls with a grain of salt, because if I went and took a poll where Eric Metaxas lives right now and took a poll in Lukenbach, Texas, you're going to get two different types of people in that poll. So make sure you know what you're looking at.
This guy doesn't know how polling works, obviously.
Get the fine print. See what the MOE, which is margin.
Well, that's worth it. Yeah, look at the fine print. And there's an acronym for margin of error. Why is there an acronym for that? Whatever. Anyway, the methodology is important.
Of error is, and how many people? I mean, a poll is not polling 500 people. That is.
Yes, it is. What are you talking about? It's likely voters in certain states.
It's not a valid poll. I'm sorry. That's where I think this is just.
Well, yeah, I forgive you, but you're wrong. See how that works?
You poll to get the results you want, and that's where we have to just bail out of that. All right, look at this one. Here's a graphic, a different way to look at it. You can see Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, the split there. Eric, when you see this, what does that say to you about the upcoming election?
This is an interesting lesson in propaganda and what they're doing here. They've picked out the best polls that reflect Trump's most likely outcome. They've picked the ones where Trump is going to come out on top, almost certainly. The states and the polls. The polling aggregates for these states do not reflect this. And they just throw those up. They didn't throw up like Virginia or Nevada or Florida or Ohio or any of the others, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. No, they showed the 3 swing states that support their case the most. This is propaganda, plain and simple. It's propaganda.
It's impossible. I honestly think we shouldn't look at polls because we have to fight like we are way behind. We know.
Agreed.
We know the other side cheats. They don't believe cheating is wrong. They don't believe.
Oh, please.
Anything is wrong. They believe winning is all that matters. Clinging to power is all that matters.
I disagree. No, that's not what I think. I can tell you what I think. I'm the expert on what I think, okay? And I don't think that. So there you go. You're just wrong.
So this idea that we're doing well. Listen, praise God that maybe we look like we're doing well. The only thing that matters is what happens November 5th and November 6th and 7th. Will Trump win? We've got to act like we are way, way, way behind. This is an existential crisis, Gene. We will lose the nation. I think there's still a lot of Christians that don't understand. We're going to lose the nation. This is not like we're voting for Dukakis.
You know, this is disgusting, bro. Seriously. This is exactly what Eric Metaxas said when Obama was running.
Or we're voting for Marxist atheists who do not believe in the America that we
Oh my God.
have had for 2.5 centuries. And so we've got to, we can look at the polls, but we have to be very, very careful. We've got to fight.
Marxist atheists. Not for nothing. This is exactly what Hitler used to talk about. And he knows that. This guy does. He knows that because he wrote a book about World War II, went in depth about it. Of course, he doesn't have any clue what happened in World War II. Still, dude literally wrote in his book, Hitler won his election. No, he didn't. He lost his election. What are you talking about? And then afterward, released clip after clip saying Hitler won his election. It's like, are you doubling down on a false fact that you gave us? Is he trying to rewrite history? I don't think he knows anything about the time period, actually. No true factual information, seemingly. He just like makes shit up all the time.
I
Quote a
agree.
friend of mine.
100%. I totally agree. All right, let me go to you, Chris Ann. You know, in the not just speaking on the state of Florida, but with this election integrity and all the stuff that's happened since 2020, with all the lawsuits that showed that there was the court decided you didn't have any standing. What's your
Well, the court decided that there was no fraud, actually. There were some cases where there was no standing, but by and large, there's just no fraud. Like 60 different cases or something were thrown out that Trump was trying to run or whatever, trying to get to determine. And they were Trump judges, too, by the way. So I don't know what to do about that. Like, I don't know what they want here. They're so full of shit.
your concern going into this election? Are we going to have a fair one?
Well, actually, my concern is that people will take what they hear about election fraud and just simply give up and not vote.
Yeah, that's a big problem when you claim election fraud, actually. That's it depresses the vote. A lot of people don't have the Apple bag to claim fraud for that reason. In fact, Hitler never claimed election fraud, as far as I could tell.
One of the greatest things that we can do to combat election fraud is for people to get out and vote. When registered voters do not vote, that actually gives more room for election fraud, because then you have a lot of people on the lists whose votes are not answered.
Oh my God, please. Really? You telling me that wow, this is really interesting. So she recognizes that people's votes are counted, and if there are 2 votes sent in for somebody, it triggers something. Like, people recognize what's happening at that point, right? Like, the state realizes when somebody votes for another person, then there is no problem with election fraud, is what I'm reading, right? Because the state knows when this is happening. That's actually the case. The state knows when somebody votes for somebody else. But, you know, far be it from me to inject logic into this conversation. Oops.
But if everybody gets out and votes, then it's harder to actually get away with election fraud.
I don't know what the fuck she's talking about right now.
Election fraud's been something that has always been a problem since voting started. It's not new. The reason election fraud is a problem is because we have such low voter turnouts.
No, it's not a problem, A. And B, higher voter turnout wouldn't change anything. What are you talking about right now? Oh my God, dude. Like, these people are just gone. Their heads are gone. This just blows my mind.
And I think that if we push to the polls and people get out to vote, and pastors encourage their people to get out and vote.
Violate separation of church and state is what she's saying.
This is going to be where the difference is made.
Let me bring in Pastor Hank Cman in Omaha, Nebraska. Pastor Hank, you heard what Chris Ann was saying about getting pastors to get their flocks out to vote. This is still a huge thing. You know, as much as we've talked about that, we still have, depending on which statistic you look at, about 40 million Christians that do not vote.
Yeah, okay. That's Christians. That's people that identify as Christian. That is not evangelicals. Very different.
15 million there or so that aren't even registered. What is it that you do there in Omaha to keep people engaged and get them out to vote?
Well, the first and foremost is I do not avoid the moral issues that are happening right now in our country. I don't avoid the evil that is taking place, and especially what's happening to the children. So I constantly...
Oh my God, dude, what is happening to the children, for that matter? Why don't you tell me, Hank? The answer is nothing. Nothing's happening to the children. You know what's happening to the children? They're being indoctrinated at churches, and while they're there, preachers are taking advantage of them. That's what's happening at churches. I'm sorry. That's what's happening to the children right now.
From Scripture, I address those issues, and I also empower our people to stand up and do something. The other thing I do is I bring in people in my church who have the wisdom. They're out there. They know what's going on in the political realm, and I let them get up and I let them present certain things that are...
That's true. He does do that. That's a complete violation of the separation of church and state, obviously. Does he care? Of course he doesn't. Never did.
issues that are on the ballots. And so I inform the people so that they're well educated. They know what's out there, how we need to vote. But here's what I want to say.
Well educated, he says. I mean, did you guys know that people that watch Fox News, for example, are less informed on like what's happening in the world, politics, the United States, whatever, events generally? They're less informed on that shit than people who do not watch Fox News, who don't watch anything. That is crazy.
I really believe that if the Christians will show up and if we'll continue to fast and pray, Pastor Gene, we're going to beat any cheat. And I also believe this. This is about, and if you're a Christian watching or you're a pastor and you have not yet engaged your congregation, this is as important. When God went to a nation, Israel, and he gave them a choice, and he said, I set before you death and life. And he gave them the answer. He told them how to vote. He said, you better choose life. And that's really what this is about. This is good versus evil, light versus darkness. It's death. They've got on the left crying out, kill more babies. And then on the right, there are those that are
Wait, who's crying out, kill more babies? What are you talking about, bro?
fighting for life. Christian, it's not that hard. You need to side on the Lord's side, and you need to get out there and fight for your freedom. But how about this? The freedom of somebody else and future generations.
Oh my God. What he's doing right now is literally, he's fighting against people's freedoms to do what they want with their lives and their bodies and their whatever. He's fighting against that while saying, you are going to fight for people's freedoms. He's calling it fighting for freedom. This is insane. This is like 1984 shit. Freedom is slavery, and what the hell is it? What's the saying? I forget.
So true. So true. All right. Well, let me show you. This is Donald Trump in Pennsylvania, which is a state everybody's looking at for the election. He calls himself the working class candidate. Interesting. Watch.
It's no wonder that Kamala Harris was just officially endorsed by IRS agents. Do you believe it? That's when you'd say, I'd rather not have that endorsement, but
Yeah, I don't actually know what he's talking about exactly here. But again, I don't like going back to this every time, and I don't intend to. But this is exactly what happened leading up to World War II. The people's candidate, the working candidate or whatever, the working class guy, was the National Socialist because he cared about, social programs like, I don't know, unemployment insurance, pension programs, kind of like Social Security, universal health care. That was the socialist program. That's what socialist meant at the time. The National Socialists were all about workers' rights, the common man, average working Joe, Joe the plumber. That's what the National Socialists were about. And an extreme obsession with their country, or whatever, like to an unhealthy degree. Patriotism is good. In fact, patriotism is necessary. You must have patriotism in a country for it to survive. We could see that plain as day in Afghanistan. Like when the United States invaded Afghanistan, there was zero patriotism in Afghanistan. Nobody cared. They were just trying to make it day by day, live their lives. Farmers were just farming or whatever. They didn't care where they were farming, as long as they had decent land. Zero patriotism there. Zero. And it led to a situation in which they couldn't gather enough support to defend themselves from people who wanted to, take control or whatever. They wouldn't fight for their country. They didn't care about their country. So patriotism, to some degree, is necessary. Not nationalism. That's not okay, ever. So anyway, oops.
I've been endorsed by virtually every police group in the entire nation.
And he's proud of that.
Every police group, almost every sheriff's group, every police group, every one of them. We just had one, the Fraternal Order. We just had 400,000 policemen. That's the
Fraternal Order,
biggest of all the unions, and they endorsed me. And this is the first time in decades, just got endorsed by the rank and file members of the Teamsters, which I happen to think is amazing.
Who? The rank and file members of the Teamsters? So you're just saying like somebody that's a member of the Teamsters? Is that what you mean? Just like some random like union member? Okay. Well, a union member from the Teamsters has like endorsed Joe Biden too. What do you mean? Who cares? Who did the head of the Teamsters endorse is my question.
That was a surprise.
Oh, look at this. I never noticed before, but they light up where you're supposed to go next. It's a little catfish's maw thing here. Huh. That's interesting.
That's automatic for the Democrats, and they now the bosses didn't endorse me, but they had a problem.
What? Really? The bosses of the Teamsters did not endorse you? Huh. So who the f*** endorsed you then, and why are you like trotting it around or whatever? Doesn't make any sense.
Because they got 30% of the vote. We got actually 60 or 61% of the vote. Can you believe it?
What?
So
like, I'm sorry. What is he talking about? What vote? Which vote are you referring to right now?
We're in the 61. The people that want us, they said, well, how come you didn't endorse them? They're just going to take a pass. But maybe that's okay. That's all right. We know where they stand, and that's good. Kamala Harris is the candidate.
You know, when he says shit like that, it disturbs me. It's okay. We know where they are, and that's fine. You know, again, I'm writing about it right now. That's why I keep coming back to this. I don't think that the parallels are that dramatic, but in World War II, it came to a point where like they made lists of people who did not support Hitler, and all of the oppositional groups were kind of taken down one by one, were banned from operating in the country. Like the Social Democrats were banned from operating in the country. The communists were some of the first ones to fall. The Catholics made a deal with Hitler in September 1933. The Reichskonkordat is what it's called. They agreed to stay out of politics completely, basically in exchange for being allowed to operate like Catholic schools and after-school clubs and stuff. Like, I'm going through the Reichskonkordat right now. Anyway, the point is that these people are doing and saying the exact same things that happened leading up to 1933 in Germany, and it's like straight up disturbing. Again, I don't believe that Trump is like that at all. For one thing, Hitler was like maniacal and looked for an opportunity to hurt people because he liked hurting people, seemingly. I don't think Trump cares about people. I think he'd throw them under the bus if that's what it took, just because.
Of the tax collectors and the Washington bureaucrats. I am
the bureaucrats. Is that anything like Aristocats?
Candidate of the American worker, and I always will be. I always will be.
All right, Floyd, you heard him say the working class candidate. This is usually a title held by the Democrat Party. How have you seen that change over the years?
That's interesting. They think that it's a title held by the Democrats. I think it's, anybody that's pro-union is actually for the workers. And not just like on paper, just pro-union. I mean, actually, like in practice, doing things to improve unions, collective bargaining. That is pro-worker right there. You're pro-worker in that case. Republicans have never, ever been and are not currently pro-worker. I mean, you may view it that way, but they're not.
Years.
Yep. Well, the Democrat Party is not the Democrat Party of my grandparents. That was a party that was focused on the working class.
Okay. You know what's really funny and sad simultaneously? The Democratic Party of his grandparents was the party of the KKK. There was a party switch in the 60s and the 70s after the Civil Rights Act was passed by the Democratic Party. That infuriated the KKK, who were Democrats, and they switched to Republicans because Nixon started shouting out to the KKK and saying, look, I'm going to help you out and do all kinds of cool shit for you. Like, you want to find some way to get rid of dirty hippies and black people, we'll ban weed. That was part of the Southern strategy. He kept dog whistling to him and stuff. So the point is that, no, he's right. Yeah, it's not the party of his grandparents. That was what he wants to go back to, I guess, though, right?
They have literally walked away from the working class and embraced the billionaire class. And now most of the policy decisions that are made by Democrats are made from Washington, D.C., top down, based on what their most important donors, people like
What the hell's he talking about?
George Soros and others, want them to do. So,
oh boy, we're getting anti-Semitic up in this piece. You know, I don't call it anti-Semitism just because you're talking about a Jewish guy. George Soros is just a Jewish guy. That's it. There's no more to it than that. However, the fact that they portray him as some kind of a mastermind that pulls strings from like his mountain on a hill or whatever, that's anti-Semitic. And they always go back to him as like the root of all evil. It's crazy, dude.
They've walked away from. They became the party of open borders and shipping jobs abroad. And
what? Who wants to ship jobs abroad? First of all, and second, who wants open borders? Who said that? Who are you talking about? Who are you arguing with right now? I literally don't know of a single, not one person, certainly not on the left, that wants open borders. I do, however, know some libertarians that want open borders. That's a pretty popular position among libertarians, open borders, surprisingly.
Over and over again, they've just walked away from that history of supporting the working class. And the Democrat Party is now the party of the college-educated elites and the people in government. That's about the only people that really support that party. Working class.
That's just false. There are like 1 billion people that are huge fans of the Democrats. What are you talking about right now?
People, they're moving to the Republican Party in droves.
Yeah, sure seems to be that way. It's
No, it doesn't. Where are you picking this up? That's not true. People are not moving to Republicans in droves. They're just like making shit up right now.